Well, welcome back. Thanks so much for coming. Second day of our Positive Tech Conference. We're organizing a conference like this. One of the things we're most interested in is people coming the second day also, so it's great to see you. And it's a lot of effort and work, and I hope you're having some fun. I had fun in our team yesterday. We're becoming a fairly competitive group, interested in winning the contest this afternoon. We'll see how we stack up. Today, a few things. Shauna, Sarah, Drew, and I, again, are happy to see you here. Also, one of the things that I wanted to remind everyone is to fill out the Qualtrics survey. The Qualtrics survey is important to us and our funders that we have an evaluation of the program. My name is Joe Himle. I'm from the University of Michigan School of Social Work and Department of Psychiatry. I do mental health intervention research and as part of this team, I've been particularly interested in technological solutions for bringing interventions to underserved populations in the area of mental health. So today, I get the honor of introducing three speakers. We have only two on the list, but we also have a third speaker. And I wanted to introduce each of them together because we have this round-robin format. And then we'll have a chance for a few questions at the end. And after the first round of speaking, then we'll go back into our teams and get our pitches prepared. So our first speaker today is Jasprit Singh. He's a professor of electrical engineering and computer science here at the University of Michigan. His specialty focuses in the area of optical and electronic properties of semiconductors and heterostructures. He earned his PhD in solid-state physics from the University of Chicago and wrote his thesis on the electrical properties of disordered semiconductors. He's had different jobs throughout his career and positions. He's joined the University of Michigan in 1985, and he has been a visiting professor at the University of Tokyo, University of California, Santa Barbara. Professor Singh has published over 300 papers and 10 textbooks. One of the things that's also very interesting about Professor Singh is, in addition to his work in science and technology, he has a deep interest in the use of yoga to enhance personal and social well-being. He's founded I'm going to make a little mistake here, probably, Rusa Yoga style of yoga, and runs several studios and training centers in the U.S. So that's Jasprit Singh. I also had the nice opportunity to have a really fun meeting with him about 6 months back. Our second speaker is Paresh Patel. He's the co-founder and CEO of SurveySignal. So some of you have met him. His company, I'll talk to you about it a little bit. He has a bachelor's degree in business and commerce from the University of Mumbai and a master's degree in computer science from Roosevelt University. I'll tell you a little bit about SurveySignal as a company. It's a development of experience, SurveySignal is a company that further develops experience sampling technology originally developed at the University of Chicago Booth School of Business by Wilhelm Hoffman and Paresh Patel. This development was motivated by a search for a reliable and user-friendly solution that would marry together three basic features essential to most types of smartphone research. One, a simple, foolproof, and fast sign-up system that allows people to register and verify their smartphone. and to provide consent for search. Number 2, the use of cell phone text messaging as a signal and reminder. And also, number 3, to use the benefits of Qualtrics and SurveyMonkey in this kind of work. Our third bonus speaker today is Tim Steenbergh. He is a professor of psychology at Indiana Wesleyan University and is co-founder of LifeData LLC. His research focuses on ecological monitoring assessment and intervention, particularly in the area of positive psychology. So we have a great topic of speakers, and I'm going to start with Professor Singh. Thank you very much. Come on up. Shall we help with the key?
Slides are on the desktop.
Okay. You'll probably figure it out better than I. Let's see. Should I record which one should I press?
Just, I think, regular custom. Yeah.
This one?
How about from beginning?
From beginning. Off to the left.
Off to the left, yeah.
That's it.
Good morning, and thank you so much for the introduction. I'm really happy to be here. I work in the College of Engineering, and I've been here for 30 years. And what we work on are both this device that everybody has and can't live without, really. We also work with other sensors. So what I'm holding in my left hand here is actually a sensor which can talk to this device. And there are thousands and thousands of possible sensors one can create. So we work both in software, developing apps that can help doing various things, remind you, teach you, anticipate things, connect you to people, and so on. But also external sensors, which are becoming very, very cheap. So for example, I'm holding in my hand a device that maybe 10 years ago would have cost $10,000. Right now it costs $2. Then I can wear it. It has a little Velcro. I can wear it. What this device in particular has been programmed by a company, by us, as well as you can see over here, we also have a company called Mentor, which is based in Ann Arbor. What this device does is it checks your gait, it checks your sense of balance, and this device, you can see over here, there is a yoga app here, and you can do the yoga app wearing. Sorry about that. So this device can talk to this, tell me if I'm balanced or imbalanced. So this is just an example of the kind of thing we do. So the talk is focusing on this issue of mobile digital technologies to mimic expert mentors. So there is a technology end, so the underlying technology, but the content has to come from people who are experts in wellness. People like you, for example, from the social work, or people from public health, or so anybody can bring a content. And our approach to developing the software end of to go on the smartphone is very much like what I'm using right now. So I'm using a Microsoft PowerPoint. I don't need to code the Microsoft PowerPoint. So that's an enormously complex thing. If every one of us who use Microsoft has to code. So what Microsoft has done, and that's the beauty of the Office, is that they've given us a system. I can put my content on it and show it to you. We are using the same approach in our approach to developing apps. That we build an engine, very much like the Microsoft, except it'll be very different. It'll do a lot of different things. And anybody can bring content, load the content onto the engine. The content can be showed on schedule, on geographical location. I'll describe a little bit of that. And that's our approach. We don't want to build content because we're not experts in content. What we want to build is what Microsoft has done, the PowerPoint, that anybody brings content, loads it onto this engine, and you can then do anything you want. So act like a mentor, which means having a person almost like you, with a user all the time. And how does this work? So This is our goal. Now, technology in general, so we are technologists, we are very interested in technology. If you look at technology, it has been used for killing people, it has been used for healing people, it has been used for everything. Technology is almost like evolving ourselves into new beings. And just like evolution, of course, is a very slow process. Technology is very, very fast. You can build technology within hours, and in fact, you can create new systems. And that's the exciting thing about what I also want to convey to you, that till about 3-4 years ago, the quick technology was coding. That you could code something, create something new. It was very fast return. And if you look at the startups and so on, you can see the tremendous impact of coders. You have companies like Uber, which have become $40 billion companies. But interestingly, over the last 3-4 years, hardware has come to a point where you can do the same thing with hardware. You can integrate hardware like what I'm showing you here. This actually has an accelerometer, it's a thermometer, it has a location sensor, everything folded into one just for a couple of dollars. And if you know what to do with it, it has a Bluetooth transmitter, you can talk to my phone. So an entirely new age is coming up where hardware is coming to the point. So some of the devices that used to cost $10,000 are now becoming a couple of dollars. Literally a couple of dollars. So this has an accelerometer, a gyroscope, and gyroscopes were used for Boeing's airplanes to keep them on flight. And the same gyroscopes are now a couple of dollars. So it's a very exciting time if you know what to do with it. And we, of course, don't know what to do with it. We just build engines. And so it's a great opportunity for collaboration between people who are bringing content, like from the School of Social Work, from the School of Natural Resources, med school, from the public health program, and technologists providing the engine on which the content will run. So in terms of positive technology, which is really, there are some areas where we just need technology. We are in a world which is very different from the world we evolved through, and there are some technologies that are absolutely essential. For example, we don't have an internal clock. If we don't have the ability, I think all of us would have been late to this conference if we didn't have alarms and clocks and smartphones and telling us calendars and so on. We would probably be sleeping. So we don't have a sense of time. We don't have the ability to move fast. We don't have the ability to fly. We don't have the ability to do fast calculation. Now there, absolutely we need technology to help us. But we do have a lot of abilities. And we don't want technology to come and take away our abilities. That's very important in technology because technology can do anything. For example, if a technologist comes and says, all you guys over here, you don't need to walk anymore. We'll provide you scooters. Anywhere you want to go, we'll provide you scooters. Now that's not a good technology because even though it may sell a lot of scooters, it'll also take your musculature away. You'll be sitting all the time. Now that's not a positive technology. So where does one find positive technology which enhances us? Okay, so that's really the goal of positive technology. But technology can also degrade us. And that's very important to keep in mind that a lot of technology makes us dependent on technology. It almost becomes an addiction. And a lot of social networks sometimes do that. And that's very important to keep in mind also. So these are some things that we just can't do. There are also things like I can't smell carbon monoxide. None of us can smell carbon monoxide because in our evolution, there was no need to smell carbon monoxide. But now carbon monoxide can kill us. So if your heating system fails, you need a carbon monoxide detector that will tell you something bad has happened. We can't smell methane. Okay? Now we have methane everywhere. Right? So we can't smell hydrogen, we can't smell radon, we can't smell nerve gas, right? The nerve gas, which is one of the most dangerous, paralyzes you. There's no ability to smell it. But there are certain abilities we have, and we want to enhance them. So this is just, again, these are our physical sensors, right? But this is not all we have. We, in fact, have 35 sensors in our body. So these are just the 5 most important sensors. We often associate ourselves with, we have 5 senses. But actually, we have way more than 5 senses. Okay? So I'm going to do a very quick 1-minute experiment with you, if you're okay with it. So don't move at all now. So don't move at all. And the experiment is simply this. Try to adjust now so that you are in the most comfortable position that you could be. The healthiest way you could sit. So that is a sensor that is within you. You could do it. But all I did was ask you, you that's a positive technology that enhances your connection to your own senses. So very often, the role of technology, I think positive technology is to enhance the senses, because I could wire you up with technology and do the same thing, what you did in a second like that. I could wire you up, I could put accelerometers, I could put all kinds of gyroscopes on you and tell you you're not in the right position. But that's expensive technology and waste of my time, waste of your time. You wear that technology. You have that ability already. And that's partly what we want to exploit, build technology that enhances, just connects you to your own senses. So this is our model for the way we want to develop technology, create a mentor. And what the role of the mentor is not to take over your life and run your life for you. The role of the mentor is to guide you and enhance your own ability till you can run your life by yourself. And to us, that is very important, because we can design technology which can take over your life. And in fact, a lot of technology is designed that way. It can tell you what your heartbeat is. For a lot of wearable technologies, and Apple is coming up with its own watch, it tells you all kinds of things. And you can fall in that trap and let your life be run by a gadget. So you can let a gadget tell you how you feel, instead of just looking inward for a moment and say, this is how I feel. And that's a technology we don't want to get involved in. Even though it's, of course, a great business model to run people's life, it's a great business model. But we want to try to avoid it. So we want to use the mentor approach. And I'll be very happy to talk to you about. So mentor approach is to create an engine. Very much like the Microsoft, even though Microsoft is reviled for a lot of reasons, I think the presentation tools are pretty good. And some of the office tools are pretty good. They allow you to enhance what you. So Microsoft doesn't tell me, don't put this, don't put that. I put anything I want in my presentation. It just provides an engine, and that's what we feel is the right way to develop technology. It should just awaken our inner senses, connects us to our inner senses, tell us when to go, when to stop, and the triggers for the presentation. So you bring the content. The triggers for the presentation could be a location, it could be movement, because the smartphone also has an accelerometer, it has a gyroscope, it has a compass and all this stuff. We can tap into it and you can trigger presentation, posture and so on. The approach is this: here's the smartphone, here's the knowledge of this great university, all the different schools of the university. How can that knowledge be presented on the smartphone at the right moment, not to take over people's lives, but to enhance your own ability to run their lives. So these are 7 dimensions of wellness, and since I have only 2-3 more minutes, physical, creative, balanced life, social, and so on. We want to develop an engine which covers any of all of these, and what that engine will do is, you can bring content for physical wellness, you can bring content for creativity, you can bring content for balance in life, social life, and so on. And you can load it up onto the engine, and the engine will then present it. And you decide, and the user will decide what is the appropriate time to tell me about these things. So essentially, like a GPS system, take you to the direction and path you want to go. So GPS is another well-designed, and sometimes it makes mistakes, but that's the purpose of GPS, to take you to your destination, not to my destination. And that's important, that technology does not take over life. And so we have now in our engine, and this engine has been used for several apps. For example, the nature pill that was released by the School of Natural Resources, Natural Resources, they used our engine to develop the nature pill. The School of Public Health is developing Tiny Shifts. It's a mind wellness application, and that's using our engine. And our engine is designed in a way that you can basically, so a moment ago I showed you an app that was the yoga app that is based on this. And so it's a general purpose engine, and what it requires is somebody to bring content, load it on, and so on. So it could be a teaching mentor, it could be an anticipating, connecting mentor, that something is about to happen, how can we override? So it's sort of like a alternate path engine. It can be, ideally the engine is like a flight simulator. It can place you in situations, teach you how to deal with those situations, like a flight simulator is used by a pilot. And so we have a number of engines that we've developed, and what we can offer, both through the university as well as our own company, Good Mentor, which actually developed the Nature Pill application. We can work with people who bring content and want to not worry so much about coding, because that's a hard thing. You know, if you want to develop an app from scratch, it's a full investment of a lot of time. And just like I don't want to redesign PowerPoint, I just want to use it. And so that's our approach. And with that, I'll end. And if there are good questions, or the next speaker can come on.
You want to hold questions to the end or get one now?
Yeah, hold it.
Hold for the end. Thank you. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Paresh Patel, CEO of SurveySignal. Thank you for having me and speaking over here. We are an offspring of a research technology developed at the University of Chicago, Booth School of Business, and now it becomes SurveySignal. We've conducted a lot of experience sampling and interventions programs, and it has never been easy to conduct those. So when we are building this, we are looking at different approaches, and we look at the PDA approach, the local app approach, and the SMS distribution approach. So I'm interested in SurveySignal, and then what the core features are, how it works, what are the user experiences, what are the security and ethical issues, and the resources available to conduct any of the intervention studies or experience sampling studies. The PDA approach is the most expensive one in the sense that you have to buy the device, program the device. Compatibility is not an issue because it's only a single operating system. And the participants' burden is to carry the PDA along with them wherever they are. The local app approach is there's no devices because the participants are using their own smartphones as a device. There is compatibility issues in the sense that each operating systems require their own app, so all the apps has to be built in their native environments. And the participants needs to download that app. Is the participant burden and install it on their smartphones. The SMS approach, the comment is there's no device cost again because it's everybody. The smartphones that we use as their only signaling devices. The compatibility issue is relatively low because there's no operating systems involved. It's a simple text messaging application that can be delivered to any phone. And there's no participant burden in order to receive the SMS message. The operating systems, the market share of the operating systems is defined, and as you see, the market share of the operating system would dictate, if you want to go the app approach or you build on a different platforms, or if you want to do a simple SMS application in lieu of building an operating system, so to speak. So having said that, the three fundamental things that we wanted to address in any of the studies, intervention or experience sampling, is one, a simple and a fast sign-up system where the participants can simply register and participate, and also verify their smartphone instantaneously. Number two is text messaging as a signaling or a reminder device in a fixed schedule or a mixed mood schedule, and also integrating the mobile compatible service, meaning if you need a collection of an intervention study or experience sampling study, you can integrate that with an already available software of your choice, like Qualtrics or SurveyMonkey. So if you see at the bottom of the screen, the link will be sent to the participants to take to click on the link to get to the survey, and Qualtrics or SurveyMonkey would already be displaying the data in a mobile compatible form. Is how the video is supposed to be. So how it works? If you want, how SurveySignal works. If you want to conduct service experience sampling or intervention studies, and if you want to collect data, you can design the actual data collection module on any of the software of your choice, like Budgets or SurveyMonkey. And then test it and just make sure that the visibility on the smartphones are standard. Then you go to SurveySignal and create a project. There you create a project and then feed in the links that you created from the software into SurveySignal. There in the SurveySignal you can set up the phone registration system for the participants. And also you can have a sampling schedule, a setup, and we can talk about the sampling schedule in more detail in the next a few slides. Then you would recruit the participants and screen the participants. Once the screening and recruitment is done, they will be directed to a registration page of SurveySignal where they can simply put their information and register their smartphones and verify the smartphones. During the registration process, there's a verification and a consent form also available, so they are consenting to the study. Once they are verified and consented, they become part of the study panel. And once they become part of the study panel, they are put in the mobile schedule where they will be started getting signals. And the signals will be either text messages or survey links that they can be directed to data collection software. The data that comes in is registered as a response registration and it's been saved in the software. Projects are SurveyMonkey. And also what we do is transmit data information pertaining to the participants, like participant ID, and signal number, and the response times to keep track of participants' participation. Also, in order to increase the response rates, we have tools to monitor it and send signaling reminders. So if you want to increase the response rate, you can set a reminder parameter to keep reminding the participants in order to increase the responses to collect via third-party software. We have this custom module built for intervention module at SurveySignal. So this module, what it does, it has two protocols and conditions. And we do random allocation. So when the participant register, they will be allocated to one of the conditions automatically by SurveySignal. Then they would have a simple fast sign-up verification process that they will register the smartphones. And then the post-verification, you can opt to have a baseline survey conducted on the participants if you choose to. Then, based on the parameter set of the fixed, random, or mixed schedule, the delivery of the SMS will be delivered to the participants for a number of days or n signals per day. The message text can be very specific per signal, or you can have a message bank where you can load all your messages and the system will randomly pick up the messages from that module and deliver it to the participants. With the only criteria being that no consecutive messages are the same. At the end of the day, if you want to do a data collection of the interventions, you can also send a link out to the participants where they can click on it, and then they will be asked to collect responses based on the questions that you design. And at the end of the survey, you can also have a post-intervention survey conducted. So after the intervention period is complete, you can also have a post-intervention survey conducted and all the data stored through the software. For the researcher's account, registering an account and exploring the system is free. You are free to please log in and create an account and play around with it. You can create multiple number of surveys within a free domain. So you can have a number of surveys and conduct studies based on that. The only criteria is when you send a signal, it's the cost. The participant sign-up page is pretty simple. It just asks you for the required information is the email, the mobile number, the country, and the time zone. The reason we ask that is because we want to make sure the time zone is local and is specific to the participant's time zone, and the country decides how they want to deliver it and additional options that they want to deliver it. And if you look at the additional code over there, that additional code can be an external code because some of the panel members might be within part of your own system which are coded already, like a student ID number or something to that effect. So you can also ask the participant to enter that. That's optional. So the participant can enter that information. And also, if the additional code, if you set up a parallel signal parameter, it would deliver the signal in parallel to the participants. This is used for coupled studies. So if you have coupled studies going on for interventions, you can send the same signal to the same couple at the same time. Now, this is where the beauty of our platform is you can customize the schedule. You can pick up the window and say, this is my research collection period. This is the time frame within each day at 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And this is the number of signals I want to send. This is the number of signals I want to collect. And this is the schedule. So the schedule is a fixed schedule or a random schedule. And within the random, you're randomizing within the segments. So you can have a mixed mode schedule also. You can have a random schedule and a fixed schedule. The randomized would be basically random intervention throughout the day, and then the data collection would be a fixed schedule at the end of the day. Also, there is a number of the minimum distance between the signals, so there's no signal collision. So you can specify the distance to be delivered within each signal. It cannot collide. So you want to have a 30-minute separation within the segment. The system would make sure that there's no collision or delivered before 30 minutes. Here, if you are doing a data collection, you can specify the survey link, and there's a lot of other parameters involved. You can activate a link or deactivate a link within a day. You can also customize each signal to send as an SMS or an email. So you can the channel can be different, so you can customize that. There's a reminder functions too. So if in order to increase the response rate, or if you just want to have a follow-up on an intervention signal, you can also set a reminder signal. The timeout is some of the things. One of the links that you send for data collection has a timeout parameter, meaning if you set it up as 30 minutes, it should be able to time out within 30 minutes. And some other administration response monitoring tool where you can manage the entire cycle of the study. You can see the response rate and monitor the delivery of the signals. One of the intervention examples is you can simply text the word enroll, and a participant would be enrolled in a research intervention study, and then this is an example of the messages that can be sent throughout the day for a number of days. We can see at the bottom, this is what I was talking about, the mixed mode where the signals would be, the messages would be delivered, but also the link would be delivered for data collection at the end of the day. Also, the participant can exit the program whenever they need to. They can just simply text exit and they will be out of the program. One of the new things that we are working in is now we are sending media and SMS. So you can send audio, video, or photos as part of our media MMS capabilities on smartphones, only on United States and Canada. Intervention, also we are developing a couple new modules on smartphones. We are currently developing for Android and going to develop one for iOS in the coming weeks. And this is going to be one of the features that will be offered as an external channel to deliver intervention messages. We also have some security and ethical issues. In the cybersecurity, the wireless phone check is optional, so you can actually check whether the phone number is actually a wireless number or not. So we can offer that services as well. Phone number can be registered only once per study, so we would restrict participants from re-registering multiple times. And an opt-in procedure during registration. The participant information is protected with the server architecture. The phone numbers are never fully displayed. It's always masked, so the researchers never have access to a phone number. The actual survey response data is collected in a secure environment of a third-party software for portraits and surveys. So in that we address that issue. The terms and conditions for using is totally research-based, and all researchers need to subscribe to APA ethical principles. We have some benchmark data across 10 studies conducted, and the median response rate has been 77%, with 8 minutes in the response delay. 96% had survey completion rate, and the reminders effectiveness increases. The other example, one of the SurveySignal has been used in a couple of the research projects. One of them is an assessment study conducted on the sample morality in everyday life. And if you see at the map, this is the data collected from SMSs in different parts of the country, and if you see there's some responsibility in that aspect. So we truly delivered all the SMSs throughout the United States and Canada and the world. Another research example we have is the intervention study that I perspective that used SurveySignal to deliver the messages for their studies. Resources-wise, you can log on to SurveySignal.com and you can email us and ask questions that you have about the system. We have a lot of online resources within .com. You can go to the help section and download the manual, technique, yes, questions, primary sheets, and example project studies. Thank you for your attention.
Morning. My name is Tim Steenbergh, and I really appreciate the opportunity to able to share with you a little bit about what we've been doing at LifeData. Just a disclosure, I'm a psychologist, not a technology guy, and certainly I've been learning a lot over the last few years about technology and how to help how we can interface that with some of the work that we're doing in psychology as well as in other areas. So thanks especially to Sarah and Shauna just for giving us the opportunity to share a little bit about our work. LifeData formed a few years ago. We were doing some work trying to understand what's happening in the moments of people's sort of daily lives. I teach statistics and research design, and I think we've all put up with the frustrations of the limitations of surveys and all kinds of biases that are associated with that. And even as a graduate student back in the late 90s, appreciated the limitations there and had the desire to try to really get into the lives of people. I used to do work with problem gamblers and really wanted to try to capture what their lives were like through the day. Back then, there wasn't much technology to really help. You could either, program watches and have cards to sort of jot down what people were thinking or experiencing, or you could use, the Palm Pilots. And I didn't even have the skills to program with those, so I kind of gave up at that point. What happened as we moved along as a company is we started to develop some ideas about using smartphones. Other people are doing this, really some great work that's already been shared by Mr. Patel and Professor Singh. But what we're trying to do is basically assessment and intervention in close to real time. And a lot of the similar kinds of experience sampling is as Paresh shared just a few moments ago. So there are a lot of different strategies to do what we refer to as ecological momentary assessment. Capturing data in the moment as people are living their lives. There were little daily diaries, and then we moved to alarms and note cards. I mentioned the Palm Pilot. I actually bought a couple and started to program them and just gave up. And at that point, I happened to have a really fortuitous experience where I was interacting with a person in the technology world, and he said, this was in 2011, you should really look at an app to begin to gather this kind of data. And then we started to develop our ideas a little bit further. We were doing a study at that time, and he said, well, do you just want to do one study, or are you interested in doing multiple studies? Of course, we were interested in the latter. We didn't want a single app that would only sort of work once. And so he started to talk with us a little bit about a platform, or basically a platform that would allow us to begin to run multiple studies. So these new possibilities began to sort of capture our interest. What if we actually had a platform that would allow us to run a variety of studies simultaneously? And that's really what launched LifeData. So the system we've created, and I'll just hit some of the highlights. I know we're running out of time here. Try to make it so that it's very flexible and easy to use, so that somebody like me who doesn't have much trouble with Qualtrics or say SurveyMonkey could have that kind of experience in setting up an EMA or an EMI protocol. And we also were really interested in trying to capture as much of the market as we could, at least at this point. So we focused on both iOS and Android in our development. And we wanted to offer those for free so that participants could download those and then begin to, from that, download what we call Life Packs. So Life Packs have notification schedules, they have questions and prompts and other kinds of content associated with that particular sort of pack. Once participants download the Life Pack, then as they're responding, we're capturing a variety of pieces of information. For example, whatever response they give, whether it's numeric or text-based, we also timestamp at the very moment that they enter that so that we can keep track of how long it's taking them to respond to various questions. We capture the GPS coordinates for every response so that you can actually see sort of where people are at, or maybe even if they're moving in between sessions. And then also, we wanted to make it easy. As a guy who handles a fair amount of data, it gets so frustrated when I've got to do a lot of work massaging the data and putting it into a structure that I can handle. So making it easy to download into a CSV file that any statistical program can handle. And then finally, as a clinical psychologist, I'm really interested in how people are doing. It's really hard for me to wait to the end of a study sometimes to see how things are going, and especially in other contexts. Well, I'm primarily interested in research. I have a background in distance running, where my coaches, really always wanted to sort of follow people in real time, how the athletes were doing. So what if, others outside of just the research world could start to use this technology? So providing a real-time dashboard seemed especially helpful, and so we created that as well. I'll hit just a couple of highlights. So in terms of the system, basically, a person can go in, set up, name a life pack, and then begin to create notification schedules. When are those notifications going to be pushed to the user? There's all kinds of varieties of ways to set this up. You can have fixed, randomized, mixed. You can decide, which days you want it to fire, and during what hours. Then it'll use the local time on the device. As a Paresh noted, you don't want to be notifying people in some other time zone and really frustrating your users. Also being able to specify the minimum amount of time between notification schedules. The notifications is important as well. Once a person set up the notification schedule, they can go right into building the experience for the user. So selecting from a variety of different prompts. Right now we have 10 different types of prompts, from question-based prompts to simple text statements to combination of picture or picture plus text. What we're finding in some of our work is pictures can be really powerful in terms of capturing interest and beginning to help people sort of engage and shift in terms of their thinking and behavior. So they can select a prompt and then create that particular prompt. Again, trying to make it easy, name it, put in the text that you want them to see, and then set up the parameters in terms of response options. And once you've then created and published the life pack, the user can open up the app and select which life pack they want to download. On the assessment side, there are a variety, again, of prompts that one might create. What we try to focus on is a consistent user experience so that it's not confusing. We try to make this as simple as we possibly could. So we have, sliders, multiple choice, kind of the standard, text entry and such. But consistently, for each prompt, they have a separate screen, cycles very quickly, so that they're not skipping items as they're moving through the protocol. Once we started doing ecological momentary assessment, the clinician in me couldn't help but recognize the possibility of intervention, even with questions. One of the things that has been a real cognitive shift for me is the power of a good question to shift my thinking, to actually encourage changes in behavior. I sometimes refer to that as like measurement reactivity. As we measure, we measure the things that we care about, right? And I'll time myself on a run, right? I make sure you try to maintain a certain pace, or how far did I go on the treadmill. I measure how I use my time. These kinds of things, right? And so using questions even to prompt change. But of course, there's a variety of other ways to do that as well. Simple words of encouragement. Again, pictures can be powerful. I think about this sort of as a virtual coach that the individuals carrying with them to go about their day. The other thing that we were interested in doing when we set up the system was not only capturing data in the moment, but also giving the user an opportunity to engage when they wanted to with certain experiences within the app. So rather than just, always sort of taking from them, gathering data, or even delivering messages, what if we also provided an opportunity where we could set up separate kinds of sessions where the user could engage that? So for this particular example, I'm really interested in gratitude. So we set up 3 different user-initiated based gratitude sessions. The person can log on to the first one, report the good things that are happening just as it happens. We know that reflecting on that is a positive experience. Specific gratitude activities were another that we set up. So this is a brief example. Spend a few moments reflecting on the good things of the day. Okay? And when they're ready to go on, now we're going to ask them to list 3 good things, kind of stealing from Seligman's work, right? Trying to engage in these practices that are associated with well-being, so they can enter that data. And then finally, just a word of encouragement. Continue to practice these things. We know that they're associated with positive outcomes and with flourishing. So the user can initiate these when they like, and you can change these, right? You can have these run for a week or 2, and then shift to something different. So one of the ideas for me, I can't help but appreciate sort of the traits of the Iraqi model even still, years later, is how do we help people sort of move along, create a progressive kind of experience. And so that's another element that kind of went into the system. As I said, I like numbers. And so data really matters to me. Simple, efficient ways to use data. Here you can see, maybe you probably can't see, but there's a bunch of numbers and things here. But basically, we try to capture the data in a very straightforward way so that the user can easily download and begin analyzing that. In addition to sort of when the prompt was delivered, you can find out how long it took to respond. You could look at even what device the person is carrying, if that's of interest to you. What's the specific question, the response? And then I mentioned too the GPS coordinates are helpful if you're working with that kind of data. And that happens for every response, although the user can turn off location services if they desire. The other part that I get excited about is the dashboard, being able to see, and it's probably better to call it near real time, right? So this refreshes you can set it up from every minute to every hour or whatever. And it's depending whether the person has a signal at the time. But as responses are given, those are uploaded. And you can see how people are doing in your study. And despite being a numbers guy, I really like qualitative data. And so we have this sort of text feed. So as users are responding, we're actually able to see what are they thankful for. So this was some partners and this was one particular partner. You can see, lunch with friends, being productive, food, friends. Food, it turns out food, friends, and sleep are really things that many of us, we have a project going on right now where we're actually coding what are the things people are thankful for, and these are things that are common. So anyway, that's a little bit about the system. Really appreciate the opportunity to share, and more information on our website if you want to find out about that. Thank you.
So we have, if we could ask our presenters to come up. We don't have a table, but you can just come on up and stand here. Then we have about 10 minutes for questions. So who'd like to get us started? A question. Great.
Question for Paresh. When you presented your solution, you mentioned that most of the stimulus to the participant was via text messaging. You also mentioned email as an avenue to reach the participant. If that's true, when they are reached by email or SMS, their ability to respond, was that then to the browser on the device?
Yes.
no matter how they were stimulated. Either.
Correct. The channel of distribution will be either SMS or email, but the respondent will still get the browser.
Okay, thank you.
Second question. I'd like to know a little bit more about the balance item that you had and how it interacts with the smartphone and a little bit about its history.
Yeah, that's a really interesting project, which basically, that's a gadget that is there. You place it on your leg or your arm, and then you say, it's developed for helping balance with elderly people, but even dancers or yoga people. So, the app would say, stand on your right foot and lift your left leg up.
Okay.
And if you're moving, it's buzzing. It's constantly buzzing. So your goal is to still it so it quiets down. And then you can put it down. And then they give you a number, so you can choose a level. I want to go to level 2, level 3, and it'll log it down. And so it can take you through a series of balancing exercises, about 150. And so you can build up your balance slowly. And since it's an app, it can also, like all the apps do, you can choose when do you want me to do this. And so you can do it at your office, at lunchtime, in the morning, when you wake up. But what I wanted to also indicate by that is there are now at least 15 sensors. So there's an accelerometer.
Right.
And basically, you threshold it, so if the acceleration falls below a certain level, then it indicates it. So it can check your balance. But it can check your trajectory. For example, the same kind of thing will be worn on a head for soccer. When young people play soccer, there are a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
Because they hit the ball and they don't know how to hit the ball. So it can measure the G-force on your head as you hit the ball and give it to your coach.
Right.
And if you see professional soccer players, they stiffen their neck when they hit the ball. So the force is shared by the body. But when young people who don't know, are not trained, because they're not thinking that quickly, they snap their head back. And the same sensor could be used for that, could be used for boxers, could be used for concussion. So what I wanted to indicate was there are these sensors coming out which are hardware.
Right.
They are like $2-3 a piece. If you know electrical engineering and you can use them, they can talk to the smartphone, they can trigger apps, they can track what happened to you. So that's what that one does.
Because one of the things that I think that's interesting for the group, and if they're thinking about building a sensor, working on a sensor, and having it relate to the smartphone, I do think that one of the things that I think you could help with and help people understand is that it may not require quite as much money as you think to kind of test a proof of concept. Do it on a breadboard or do something.
Exactly. The systems, in fact, what we are developing as part of Grow Mentor is what's called Lab in a Box.
Yeah.
The Lab in a Box is a $100 lab. Right now, the same equipment that is in that lab is $15,000 to $20,000. So the smartphone can act as an oscilloscope, it can act as a multimeter, it can act as a tracker of G-forces. So we are using it, for example, skateboarders skating. What are the G-forces that are created? Or somebody is doing parkour, they're jumping off buildings. What are the forces that are created? And how you land, how does it alter? So it becomes, and it's less than $50. That's what I wanted to also indicate, because in addition to the focus being on coding, which has been the driver of a lot of software companies, hardware is coming to the same point. You can integrate them very easily. In the past, it was impossible. A sensor company would make a sensor, it would not talk to anything. But now they're talking to each other, and they can transmit so the Bluetooth transmitters are now $4 or $5.
Other questions?
So this is a question, I guess, for both Paresh and Tim. So I really love what you've done, sort of simplifying data collection for researchers. But for researchers who are interested in more underserved, difficult to reach populations, some of these may get you very limited ability to collect data from the people you're interested in. So I'm just wondering how, if and how you're thinking about furthering reach and addressing issues like people who may have inconsistent access to the same whatever device they're using. So they may have one phone 1 month, and then the next month there's another phone, or they may be on a tablet, or where like a web-based survey might be a little bit more flexible. I'm just wondering if you have any thoughts.
I'll repeat that question. I think it had primarily to do with what about people who don't have smooth and steady access to the same device, who might not be able to make the Qualtrics link to, because they don't necessarily, may not necessarily have the web interface capabilities. They might be on a different device the next time. It might be irregular as far as the minutes available and those sorts of things. Do they have some thoughts about how you might be able to reach people in those circumstances?
Yeah, I think that's, as a psychologist, I'm very interested in those groups. How do we care for them, better understand them, and serve them? And it's an ongoing challenge, frankly, to know how to do that. One of the reasons we went with an app as opposed to something that required connection was it will run offline. So you can provide devices, and of course, people have been doing this for a long time, right? So provide the device and it runs sort of independently offline. And then whenever they come back in and catch the Wi-Fi and gather the data, you can deliver interventions that way. But yeah, that is a challenge, I think.
Our approach is SMS. The reason is it doesn't require any data connectivity. It just can deliver simple text messages. So it doesn't necessarily have to be smartphones. So in order to hard-to-reach population, we can simply send text messages. And also what we can do is collect interactive data. So if you need to have data collection, you can simply pose a question and the data comes in and display it to you. So for the hard-to-reach population that's constantly changing devices, or if the service is not available, the only constant is SMS, which could be delivered anytime on any device, irrespective of the iOS.
And if they send in these texts, does your group have the capability of collecting those texts and then giving user data back, or is it more that you collect the texts and the investigator would have to kind of comb through it if they came in a text?
Sure, great question. No, all the data that is collected is easily downloadable by them. So any data that comes in through the SMS interactive mode of collection, it could be easily downloadable. And there's a dashboard or reports that we can generate on the responses that I get at what time and what time frame. That you can easily download an Excel spreadsheet or a CSV file and load into any statistical software for further analysis.
I think we got one more question. I thought there was one in the back. Yep. Great. You're up.
Cool. This is for all three. Do any of your projects have users?
Do any of the projects have
Users?
Common question.
Could you clarify the word users?
Like end users, like is anyone sending text messages or using the application to?
So is it like live now? Is it really working? Are people doing this work yet?
I'll answer first. We are in 4 continents, 22 countries, and US and Canada. We have delivered almost 300 survey research, which some of them have even published, and using our platform. So we have presence globally. We are the only platform that actually do global studies in this kind of environment.
Anything else like to say?
Yeah, I would say we're not nearly that far along. We have a handful of users in terms of creators. There's sort of the creators who put together these life packs, and we have many end users. But at this point, we're still getting off the ground and looking forward to a future.
Great. Yeah. One of the apps that I indicated, NaturePill, which is being used by School of Natural Resources and Environment. NaturePill basically captures your green space experience. It's an app, it triggers, and if you go to a park and walk, it questions you before you enter the park, what's your emotional state and and then it takes your state after you've had a walk and throughout the day. Also, it encourages you to take a picture. So that is a study that is research-oriented study. And the users are basically School of Natural Resources and Environment. Another app is being used by the School of Public Health, and that's they're doing their own study, and we are not part of that study. We just provided the engine to run that study.
Great. Thank you guys so much, all three of you. Appreciate it. I think our schedule calls, Sarah, can you remind me our schedule call for clustering together in our old groups now? Yes. So, Sarah's gonna tell us where to go.
So after all groups, it's your chance to get together, finalize your group problem for presentation. We're expecting one person per group to be the representative. Do a 5-minute presentation explaining what problem are you trying to solve, why does it matter, and who cares, and then we'll be voting. So come back here at 11:30 for presentations and lunch.